I am baffled. I am amazed. I love it. Sure, bring it. Fantastic. I am all for it.
Hello and welcome to the EuroWhat, episode 266, dropping on April 29th, 2025. We are a pair of Americans trying to make sense of the Eurovision Song Contest. I'm Mike McComb, and I'm here with my co-host, Ben Smith. Hey, Ben.
Hey, Mike.
In this episode, we'll be talking about Australia, Serbia, Denmark, Austria, Israel, and Georgia with our special guest, Ned Raggett. Welcome back, Ned.
Hey, great to be back once more. 6 years now, 6 years, so.
Wow. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
The first year was 2020 when it wasn't really, we're deep diving, it's more sort of like poptimism, so, because everything had gone kerflooey, but after that.
Right, yes, but man, 6 years, that is wild to think about. But
That's true.
I think this is a really interesting set. You'd sent over a wish list of songs you wanted to hit, and I think we got a couple of them. So
we did, definitely. I will throw in as preface that I am extremely grateful to good old Wee Wee Blogs for putting up for the last couple of days video from the London pre-party, because that has absolutely influenced on some of my newer thoughts on some of these selections, which is good. So I have some updated thoughts, but we'll get to that, obviously.
Excellent. Benton, did you have anything before we get started?
No, let's dive in.
All right. Gojo will be Australia's Milkshake Man at Eurovision. Marty Zamboto, who performs under the name Gojo, was internally selected to represent Australia. He started playing guitar when he was a teenager and also played in a semi-pro Australian rules football league. Gojo started focusing on music full-time, and by 2023, he was Australia's 9th most streamed artist. His single, Mrs. Hollywood, has had more than 56 million streams on Spotify. The track went viral on TikTok when Gojo posted videos of himself playing the song on guitar on Bondi Beach. Milkshake Man is written by Gojo, Amy Shepherd, George Shepherd, and Jason Bovino. Gojo's co-writers have been part of the band Shepherd, which has tried to represent Australia at the contest a few times. The group's song Geronimo reached number 53 on the US Hot 100 back in 2014. Australia missed the grand final for the second time last year, as the Electric Fields 1 Milkshake, 1 Blood finished in 11th place in the first semifinal. Australia will open the second semifinal and will be followed by Montenegro. All right, Ned, this is the one that I am most excited to hear your thoughts on. You may start when you are ready.
Will I ever be ready? I have to be honest here. Can anyone be ready? However, I will start with a tale. So, a couple of months ago, actually just last month really, was, as you've attended before, the Pop Conference. I was staying with a good friend of mine, Jeff Trappell, who happens to be presenting that year, and I regularly stay with him and his wife whenever I visit. Long story, known them forever. So one day we were getting in the car, getting ready to go over to the conference from there, and Jeff's vibe is mostly metal. That's his sort of starting point, but his taste is increasingly broad-ranging. He really does have an appreciation for a lot of different things, including more Eurovision-y stuff. It's been interesting to see that develop and change over time. It's a great guy. Anyway, he was playing something that I think I had heard about. It was a new band to me, out of Australia, with some really good vibes to it. And it was definitely very lubricious. Male and female vocalists and things like that. And at some point when the song was over, Jeff sort of just paused and turned to me and said, you know, I have to say, when it comes to metal and having like sex and desire in it, yeah, I'm paraphrasing him here, but he's saying that it's like, there are only two people these days who seem to be getting it right. Australians and queer people. And I filed that away. And then a couple of weeks later, I heard Australia's entry. And I was like, Jeff, you nailed it. I just sort of was like, can a song be a single entendre throughout? And the answer is yes, it can. Prince, but I mean, this was one of those things I'm like, my jaw just sort of hit the floor, and then it ran away, and I don't think it's ever come back. And it is, my notes begin, Jesus Christ, this song. creme brulee, etc. And basically, I appreciate this guy being this half French freak in the middle of nowhere who has done this career path, you said, and has done this. And I'm just like, I love it. And should it win? I kind of think yes, honestly. It's one of those things, but there are a lot of songs I think should win. But this one is kind of high up there. I'm like, if this is what takes Australia all the way this time, bring it. And I will say that the one thing, though, I waiting on was to see how it would be delivered live. And so go back to the post from the London pre-party. He absolutely works the crowd. He knows how to work a crowd. He clearly has got this down. I have no worries for him on that front. Now, obviously, the pre-party staging is not the staging. That, to me, is the thing like, needs a little more. We need a little more for it to fully work on the day. But he has the excellent Freddie Mercury white jeans, and he works them, and the hips, and more besides. He seemed to be packing. And just basically the ridiculous whatever. And, I will add two other things. First, the alternate videos that they have put up on the little bit more stuff. The Gina G cover, ridiculous. I loved it. The Jungle Caramel version that just dropped the other day. The guy exactly knows what he's doing. That was an incredible alternate. And I will add, Shepard's involvement befuddles the hell out of me because I'm like, weren't these people like some sort of like, cheery, hey-ho, clappy, semi-indie, that type of stuff? Did they grow up? Did they discover sex? Did Gojo help them discover sex? Well done. This song is truly, I am baffled. I am amazed. I love it. Sure, bring it. Fantastic. I am all for it.
All right. Ben, rebuttal?
I think they stuck this one at the top because just like, where else do you put it in the lineup? It's just like, no, let's just get this one out of the way. I made the mistake in prepping for today of going to genius.com to look at the lyrics of this one because it has the little clicky thingies.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to discover like how blue this episode goes together.
Yeah.
On a journey. And I've had that thought in my head for weeks. It's like, okay, what am I allowed to say about this one's lyrical content? One of the first things that's highlighted on the page is just like the special cup. I knew it was going to happen when I clicked it. And yet the person who has annotated this on genius.com with his penis, the special cup is his penis. That's the quality of annotation that's happening on this song.
Sounds like genius.
Yeah. This is going to be a nightmare to edit.
Oh yeah, apologies in advance. But also, Australia picked this song, and like it's what kind of health code violation is happening inside of this Milkshake truck? I had also looked up some of the live party stuff just because this is one of the ones we haven't heard sung live. I wanted to see, did he have the chops? Feels like he can perform this one live. I'm really interested to see what they do with the staging of this one, because I think what you prep for like one of the pre-parties is, okay, let's have like a fun background because we don't know what size the stage is going to be. They've nailed that, but like, what are they going to do with the full stage on this one? Is it going to be too much? Mentally, I just don't know what to do with this one. It just really overwhelms all my circuits. I can see it getting through. I can see it just really not being anybody's taste other than Australia's, and us all learning that in real time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's about a good reaction as any there, Mike.
I'm just thinking back to when we first discussed this song and like how I just found it really kind of gross, and I still find it to be kind of gross, but I've been working really hard on trying to, I don't know. I'm already going to have to edit this, like just kind of like fan wank it into like something I would tolerate. And yeah, first of all, it's sort of making it sound like Milkshake Man is a thing. It's sort of like the Candy Man in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory or something. It's like, I don't think that's a thing. And like, that just sounds really SVU. I don't know. But I think one thing that I have landed on is like particularly the backing vocals in the chorus of the song really makes this sound like something from Bob's Burgers. And I could see this, I could see him being like a Bob's Burgers character, like a milkshake shop opens up across the street and is stealing what little business Bob already has. And this is the song that's like kind of illustrating whatever pranks the kids are going to play on the shop or whatever. So I'm warming up to it. But yeah, like seeing his performances at the various pre-parties, I'm not really surprised by what's happening. Like he's definitely trying to work the sex appeal piece of it. I'm worried what is going to happen when there is a much larger stage. Is it just going to be a lot of running around, stumbling around? One thing that I left out of the bio that kept coming up in the research that I did was that he can play the guitar and ride a unicycle at the same time. And I have a feeling that unicycle is going to make a visit to the stage. And I'm kind of intrigued by that, but also like, how is that going to fit in with everything else? This is going to be a really interesting way to start off the second semifinal, particularly like starting off with this, ending with Finland. The producers knew what they were doing with those bookends.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
sure, it could qualify. It could finish last. Wherever it falls, I will not be surprised.
How is this not the song that happens during the milkshake sequence in Can't Stop the Music?
Why didn't I think of that?
Like
Why
that,
didn't
like
I think
that
of
one
that?
is like that one is remarkably normal in hindsight. That they're just really hyping up the benefits of the milkshake, but also why is this the second song about milkshakes that I've had to deal with in like the last 6 months?
Australia, you're crazy for this one. But,
Yeah. God love you. God love you. We'll see where it goes.
Mila, ti si platila što volim te ja. Mila, život vratila sa ruba.
Princ was crowned the winner of Serbia's Pesma za Eurovision and will head to Basel with his song Mila. Stefan Zdravkovic is a vocalist, guitarist, drummer, and a trained philologist in Norwegian. Princ is also a highly skilled martial artist, having competed on Serbia's national karate team. Prior to Eurovision, Princ has been part of a few other high-profile performances. He was the lead in a major production of Jesus Christ Superstar and competed in several music festivals. In terms of TV, Princ was a contestant on The Voice of Bulgaria and reached the semifinals. In 2023, he was the runner-up in Pesma za Eurovision with the song Svetsi Stoka. At this year's PZE, the song Mila finished second with the jury and third in the televote. Due to a lack of consensus between the jury and the audience, that combo gave Princ enough points to earn the ticket to Basel. Mila is written by Dusan Bajic. Last year, Ramon Da by Teodora finished in 17th place. Serbia will perform in slot 15 after Germany's preview performance and before Finland. Ned, what do you think about this one?
Now that you mentioned the placement, I'm even more suspicious, I guess is the word, or at least, less suspicious for it. The philologist thing is just amusing the hell out of me, because when I think philologist, I think Tolkien, as in who I have a podcast on. So I'm like, boy, I would have loved to have seen these two meet and talk. They're like, you do what? So, modern variations on a theme, if you will. Quite remarkable. Okay, so getting over the 90s Fabio-ness of him all, plus the hair braids, I guess, to make it a little more 21st century. I find it very hard to put my finger on this song in terms of something distinct, which is not something that a performer like this should be doing. You have to be incredibly distinct with a ballad in some way, shape, or form for it to stand out. Otherwise, it's just a ballad, a solid, familiar ballad. That's exactly what's being delivered here, a solid, familiar ballad. Problem is, the thing that's most distinct about it is the stuff that won't translate quite literally as well to another audience. I mean, the opening lines in English, translated, roughly, "May that be my last supper, let the eye of Cerberus drive me into the night." Okay, fantastic metal lyrics in English, but in Serbian, Serbian will be like, sure, everyone else will be like, meh. And then it just relies ultimately on the performance for a non-Serbian speaking audience. But he's good without being great, and that to me is the real issue. The pre-party performance sort of put this up because that was even a little less distinct, because at least the official show performance thing that he won with, while confirmed he can, yes, deliver it live, and clearly he's got the rep for that and has done appearances. Great, no question about it. He can do live performance. Not arguing. But it's just there is the problem. It's very mid. And maybe they wanted to play it safe this year. I don't know why. But usually Balkan ballads, sure, a lot of good ones coming out of their ears. This one almost feels like it was a compromise. We've had so many good, distinct entries from Serbia in recent years. This one's sort of feels like a retrenchment. And then you add to where it's going to land between Germany, who, while I don't think this German entry is utterly fantastic, has more energy, and then Finland, which is its own thing this year. It's like, ooh, this is going to get lost in the wash. I honestly don't see it advancing.
Ned, I think you hit on a lot of the points that I have in my notes. A couple of weeks ago when we were talking with Fred Bronson about Montenegro's entry and another entry in that set where it's good, but it's not special in any way. And this is sort of the obligatory man ballad TM for this semifinal. And
right.
I agree, he's delivering it well, but so what? It's kind of reminding me of like Ukus Viste's entries back in like 2020 and 2021, where it's like, oh yeah, good looking guy delivering a very mid song. What are you going to do in the performance to zhuzh it up in any way? I was fine with the performance at Serbia's national final. That was the one drawing on tuxedo mask vibes. But then the official video that they produced, I'm guessing an hour after the final was determined, they seem to be kind of pulling away from that. So it's just kind of becoming even less distinct in its performance. So I have a note in here. It's like, this could sneak in on the lady vote, where it's just like, I'm just thinking of like American Idol contestants, where it's just like, oh yeah, good looking guy singing a very bland song very well.
Yeah. I was thinking something along the same lines. It's one of those ones that processes because it's not reading well for me. Like, at the same time, I'm like, wait a minute, am I missing something? Is this going to land better with a lot of people who aren't me? And it might well. Yeah.
So it's fine, I guess. Like, I don't dislike the song, but I'm not enthusiastic about it, which I don't know if that's going to be enough to get through this particular semifinal. But if it does get through to the final, I think juries are going to respond to this one because this is like very competently performed. The message of the song seems to be pretty straightforward, so it's safe.
I forget that he was second a couple years ago because like I keep thinking of Novi-san, Drugi-san,
Oh, Philip Baloch.
Yeah, Philip Baloch from like a few years ago. And just like that's the one I've kept listening to. So I just assumed that it came second. But yeah, like this one, just like a third voice saying it's good, it's not great. I remember like after the Serbian final being like, yay, it's a Balkan ballad. And now every time this has come up, it's the one I most want to hit the skip button on, where I'm just like, yeah, it's a solid Balkan ballad, but also it could have been entered into Eurovision anytime between when I started following the contest and now. Its timelessness is not that it's so solid. It's timeless in that I don't know, anytime between the late 2000s and now, this could have existed.
Absolutely. Yeah, it breaks no ground. Yeah, there's no edge being pushed. If you want to argue that an edge should be pushed, I'm not saying you have to necessarily, but there's a difference between a well-delivered, excellent piece and something that is almost paint by numbers, and you can tell sometimes.
Given that we know the Balkan ballad is the thing that shows up at Eurovision, if it does show up, I want it to do something new, and this one doesn't really tread any new ground. I have no clue what new ground is for the Balkan ballad, but I believe somebody can find it. He's sitting on the bubble, so either it's going to sneak in real low when we get the final scores, or it's going to just be, like 12th or 13th.
Yeah, I can see that pretty easily. If we end up surprising us all, fine, but I don't think we'll be surprised. So I think they're just stronger entries all around.
Denmark will send Sissal and Hallucination to Basel. Sissal Nicholson is a singer originally from the Faroe Islands. When she was 10 years old, Sissal won the Faroese version of Melodi Grand Prix. She continued to pursue music and musical theater and eventually moved to Copenhagen. Her first EP will be released later this year. At this year's Dansk Melodi Grand Prix, Hallucination was one of 8 songs in competition. Sissal advanced to the superfinal, where the winner was determined by an international jury and televote. The song won the jury, but was second in the televote. When the scores were combined, Sissal had a 1-point lead and won the competition. Hallucination is written by Sissal, Chris Rode Frisk, Lena Spangsberg, Linnea Deb, Malte Johansson, Marcus Winter John, and Melanie Vebby. Denmark currently has one of the longest qualifying droughts in the contest, having last reached the grand final in 2019. Last year's entry, Sand, by Saba, finished 12th in the second semifinal. Denmark is in slot 11 following France's preview performance and preceding Czechia. So Ben, what do you think of Hallucination?
So just to start things off, I love to see continued Faroese representation from Denmark. That's great. That may be the end of my list of things that I like about this song. This is another one that's just kind of there, and like we chatted last year about Denmark's issues, and I'm not sure that this really addresses any of their issues. I have been amusing myself as I've been listening to the playlist this week, imagining that the reason she's hallucinating is because of something she has gotten from Gojo's milkshake truck.
Allegedly.
What kind of health code violation?
Oh dear.
But it just feels like such a songwriting 101 entry of like Sia level titanium bulletproof. Okay, you're my hallucination. What does that mean? She sings it well. Like her vocals were really good, but there's just nothing about this for me that elevates it past like one of those razor and tie 90s dance compilations where like this would be like something that's playing in the background on TV while the names of the other tracks scroll up for you. I don't trust Denmark's ability to stage things.
Right.
They are improving what they had at Dansk Melody Grand Prix. So I'm glad that they're addressing that, but also I just do not have confidence in Denmark right now.
Ned, what do you think of this one?
Generally, I am with Ben, although I'll add a qualifier at the end. When I did some scrounging and I learned that one of her chief influences was Robin, I was going like, that makes total sense. You get that, and I have no problem with Robin being a role model for anybody. She should be a role model. But at the same time, it's one of those things like, it's not quite her level of, nailing it like on the level that we all love Robin for. So yeah, this is one of those ones that I was admittedly very initially influenced by the live video from the contest that they showed that was the official one showcased, because I'm like, I'm seeing a lot of things from other things being put together here. I'm seeing the Beyonce hair fan, things like this. It's sort of like, okay, all right, fine, she has the hair for it. But, and all the, the hands grabbing in from the dancers and other things like that. And I'm going like, she's a good performer and it's a good song, but good is just that. It's very, again, much like we just had with Prince of Serbia, it delivers on a sort of very flat level. It works in a context, but it doesn't work on its own. There were bits of it I certainly did like. I didn't mind it when it got lightly trance, if you can call such a thing lightly trance, but you compare it to something like, I don't know, Red Sebastian, which is more clearly, here's your trance. This is more like, hi, we're going to keep this one sort of bubbling under. It's sort of like, yeah, right, but sometimes you want the rush. And we're not getting the rush here. It was not that gripping a performance. The fact that she won by one tells me something. It's like, okay, this is not an overwhelming victory, but I'm going to add the qualifier. And this is something that honestly surprised me. So there I am earlier today watching some of the London pre-party stuff, and I thought her London pre-party performance was a lot better. I think there were a couple of elements to that. One, she sounded a little less like, the pressure's on. It's more like, okay, I'm here. And she sounded very just, give and take with the audience, which is always a nice sign whenever someone does that. She came out initially in this coat thing over the outfit she was wearing from that thing, which she wore again, and sort of like did things like, okay, a little bit of a reveal. And whatever they had with the actual backdrop at a certain point, I'm like, oh, this is actually interesting. It was one of those things that it just felt like a better delivery of the song all around. It didn't change my feelings about the song, but all of a sudden I felt better for her as a performer. And I'm thinking, okay, depending on the staging, depending on what they do on the night, she's clearly not one to quote unquote work the stage. That's clearly not going to be her thing. Nonetheless, she claims a presence. She's there for it. I appreciate her just going like, yeah, I'm going to rock a leotard and tights and screw you if you don't like it. And I'm like, sure, great, bring it. And it's one of those things that I hate to say I have no idea where it will land. But if she can maintain this sort of like being a little more up with the thing vibe and carry that through, who knows on the night? That's kind of my best judgment of it. So it's one of those things, I'm not going to miss it if it doesn't make it. But if it gets through, I'm like, sure, why not?
I'm optimistic about this one. I do think it was the best entry that Denmark had on offer at their national final. And I think part of it is just her personality. Like as soon as she came off the stage and going to the interview area, like she was so pumped, so energetic, accidentally dropping a lot of F-bombs in the interview. But yeah, like it's like, okay, that's great. And I think it was there that she was talking about some of her influences. And another one that she mentioned was Jess Glynn, which you can absolutely hear in her voice. But I do have this note of she's kind of improving on what Hera Bjork did last year with her entry. I really liked Hera Bjork's entry. It finished last in its semifinals, so like that's maybe not the best starting point, but I do feel like Denmark is starting to learn what to do and that this is an improvement on Sand last year, which I was also positive on, even though it's like, yeah, it's probably not going to qualify. I think Denmark is on the right trajectory. And if this doesn't qualify, I don't want that to dissuade them from continuing to pursue this. Like, no, like if you're going to do another national final, maybe more than one song of this type so that you're choosing between like 2 or 3 that have potential. Ben, you mentioned the like timelessness complimentary question mark in Serbia. That was the note that I had for this entry, where it's just like, yeah, like I could hear this in 1997 or 2012 or 2025. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it's just like, oh no, this is like a track that is versatile. Like it has a lot of versatility to it, even if it's not timeless in the way that something like Volare is timeless. So
yes,
I don't know. I would just like Denmark to qualify, and I think that this is a worthy song to qualify with. But I think this is going to be a tough semifinal to qualify out of.
How do we feel about its slot? Because like it's coming right after France, which that feels like it's going to be like a powerhouse performance, or it just like wants to position itself as such.
Right.
And then Czechia. I mean, that one also is going to like. This is an interesting 3-song stretch.
It is, absolutely.
Putting all those little pieces together in my mind.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, since obviously, France doesn't have to go completely all out since they'll just be in anyway. But nonetheless, yeah, they absolutely want a statement of purpose it and all that. So yeah, and Czechia has much different energy, which will allow it to sort of draw a contrast. I don't know necessarily if one will be better than the other in that on the day. And again, if Sissal can sort of boost it up a bit, it'd be an interesting comparison point. But yeah, no, it's a very tricky stretch. There's no question about it. I'm not too sure how it'll land. That's one of those ones that's sort of like, scratch your chin and just see what happens on the day. Really what it comes down to.
Wasted Love by JJ will be Austria's entry for Eurovision. Johannes Peach, who goes by the stage name JJ, is a sopranist with pop tendencies. He competed on the 2020 edition of The Voice UK and was part of Team Will I Am. JJ made it to the knockout rounds. In 2021, JJ competed on the show Starmania. This was the same show where Taya and Selena, Austria's entry for 2023, met. Though he didn't make it far on the show, JJ has continued to work with Taya, including on this entry. When he isn't on singing competition shows, JJ studies in Vienna and has worked with the Vienna State Opera. Wasted Love is written by Johannes Peach, Taya Spirich, and Thomas Turner. Last year, Austria closed out the grand final with Colleen's We Will Rave and finished in 24th place. Austria will perform after Armenia and before the United Kingdom preview performance. Mike, how do you feel about this one?
Oh boy. So I was ambivalent about this one when it debuted, and the more that I am digging into it, the more I'm leaning towards disliking it. This form of presentation, at least with this song, it feels more like a party trick than anything else. I'm just not engaging with the song. When we first talked about it, I was just like, oh man, I'm so glad I'm not 23 anymore. And just like the anguish of like your first heartbreak or whatever. But it's just so over the top, and I'm not buying the argument that's like, oh, it's operatic, this is total jury bait. I don't think there's evidence to support that. Like, I was digging up the results from previous operatic entries at the contest. Kate Miller Heideke, she was third with the jury in her semifinal behind Lake Malawi and Katarine Duska. And she was sixth in the grand final with the jury. In 2018, Estonia's entry, that was seventh in the semifinal jury, also sixth in the grand final jury. Romania's Cesar back in 2013. We don't have the jury split, pinata full of SIM cards, but he finished 13th overall. And the one that immediately jumped to mind, which was the favorite of its year back in 2011, France's Amaury Vasily, he was the favorite to win. He finished 12th with the jury. Part of that was in his grand final performance, he was performing in a lower register than what was originally presented. And I'm guessing that may be because Eurovision week is a marathon. And like, particularly when it comes to operatic style performance, operas don't perform 8 times a week and twice on Sundays. Like it's not that sort of setup. There's usually like 2 to 3 days between each performance. And JJ is like, after the initial rehearsals, like when it gets into the actual competition week, performing twice on Wednesday for the tech rehearsal and the preview show, twice on Thursday for the family show and the actual live show, doing the same thing Friday and Saturday. So that is a lot of performances, which I don't know how vocally strenuous this is going to be for him. Like if this is just his like default singing range, it might not be a problem. But if there's like a major physical effort that goes into performing as a sopranist, it's going to be a challenge Saturday night during the grand final. So yeah, like there's just a lot about this. It's just like, I'm just not seeing the numbers adding up the way that other people in the fandom seem to be seeing them add up. I also just don't like the underlying thesis of the song. So that's kind of my hang up. But yeah, I feel like I've been ranting for a bit. Anybody want to take over?
Well, I can plunge in. I mean, yeah, how to put it? It's I think part of it is that as soon as I saw the video, I was sort of like, this is an internal selection, isn't it? And I double checked and was like, okay. So, because I immediately was going like, okay, what are they going to try and stage this? It's going to be like that Irish guy who was in the balloon a few years back, or things like this, where he comes out on the big paper boat. I'm like, I'm not too sure we should be going this route. I don't think it will work. And then, of course, when the big twist happens at the end, I'm like, yeah, how are they going to pull that off live? You know, that was kind of my thought in terms of staging. It was kind of, you could say, you know, maybe poor. I was thinking about the staging first when I first encountered the song. But sometimes that's what sort of leaps out of you, because again, internal selection is sort of like, okay, you can do this and make a video, but sure, you can put it on the stage of the Opera House. I assume that's the Grand Opera House in Vienna. What else would it be? It was one of those things that was sort of like, when it started into it, I'm like, oh, is he always going to be like that? And I'm like, oh, that's his range. Okay, got it. And then I was locked into that. He's not Klaus Nomi, but then again, who is? And, you know, I'm not expecting Klaus Nomi. Again, who could? But it was one of those cases that, you know, I looked him up. I'm like, okay, young performer. He's already made the reality show rounds. He does this for a living. It's his thing. Fine. And yeah, I don't mind it as much, I will say. I did enjoy it to a degree, but I wasn't in love with it. And that's one of those careful distinctions. It's one of those things like, you know, it's weirdly, of the ballads in this section that we're talking about, it might be my favorite overall. When I say in this batch, meaning the ones we're talking about this episode, certainly not of the whole competition. This is nowhere near the best ballads in the competition by any means. So, you know, conditional. The other thing about it is looking at specifically the London pre-party one, I'm like, okay, what do they do with this live? And I'm like, oh, they're just going to try and sell it on the fact that he is a good singer. Is that the plan here? There's not going to be anything else. It'll just be him with that big JJ logo behind him. Is that the idea of the staging? Now, it might not be. Maybe they got something they're going to pull the rabbit out of their sleeve. But it seems to my mind, my read on it is that it's like, okay, they're thinking we can sell this alone on what he's doing on stage because he has such a good voice. There are two arguments against that based on that particular performance. His switching to getting the crowd hyped up is a little bit jarring. It doesn't quite work. It's sort of like, some people have that knack and some people don't. Again, Gojo has it. This guy does not. And the other thing is that when the break happens, he does not know what to do with himself. Fall to the floor and twitch around. That is not going to work. That is not going to work for a semi-final performance, much less a final performance. They've got to figure out something else. They have a little time to do that, and maybe they got something else up their sleeve. But I'm just going like, you know,
Yeah.
the little bonus video with him and Conchita Wurst doing the mashup with Rise Like a Phoenix. Okay, cute. Get the big voice singers together and all that, cross-generational, fine. But in terms of this actual thing, straight up on all the rest of it, it's like, nice, but you know, there. I have nothing more to say about it.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to respond about the Conchita verse thing. I was trying to find videos of people trying to cover this song, and Conchita was the only version that I heard where it was done in a non-sopranos voice, where he was like providing the sort of harmony of it, but at least bringing it down to like a human range. We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
But I think that is an important characteristic of a song. We're just like, okay, like being able to sing along with it. If this can only be performed in that like ridiculously high register, like I just don't find that pleasant to listen to. Going back to what I said about Emmy's voice when we were talking about Ireland's entry, where it's like, yeah, it just is playing at a frequency that my brain does not like. So I don't think I'm the only one with that challenge. Sorry.
Oh yeah, no. I am member 2 of the his voice does something my brain doesn't like club.
Okay.
There's just something about the opening verse. I'm an ocean of love and you're scared of the water. It's just like a god tier, like AOL AIM away message. just like setting that, leaving the house, coming back to like 4 separate. Are you okay?
It's like, no, I was just taking a shower.
But just like that's great. But then over the course of the song and the continuation of the metaphor, I'm reminded of how when she was recording her 3rd album, the producer on Florence and the Machine's album told her, "You are allowed one song about water."
Okay, we've all heard the story about Barbra Streisand and Donna Summer. So
I hadn't thought about that, but I was just thinking about Marcus Drabs telling Florence and the Machine no.
Yeah.
Because I would have liked there to be someone in the room be like, yes, this is very sad, but you're sounding like a cat in like an old-timey cartoon where they're crying and filling the room with water. Like that's just where my brain goes every time I hear the chorus. It's a fine party trick, but I feel like I've been one of the only people in Eurovision-y spaces that's been like, I don't know, it's fine. There's not a lot of there. There's a version of this song where if it did a little ravey up-tempo pivot after that first chorus and then like turn into I don't know, okay, cool, I was here, but now I'm over this. And like picked up that sort of opera in the club energy, I guess. But instead we get like 2 verses and 2 choruses, and then it just sort of does a thing for like the last however long it has on the clock. Because like it's only like 2.5 minutes long, too. It's like it's short. Which makes me wonder, are they going to do something different? Are they going to do something with this on stage? What are they going to do? I had mentioned this when we talked about Adonis, but just like for whatever reason, that feels like it's in like the same lyrical, emotional space of sort of processing a relationship, but it feels like it's coming out from like a more mature perspective, which I guess, I may have completed my thought from a couple weeks ago of like about the whole why does this work for me when it's a bass but not a soprano? I don't get it. And Popper doesn't work at Eurovision. It does not do as well as you think it does.
I also think that there's a little bit of element of Austria looking over its next door neighbor winning last year and going like, well, we have our own weird little guy at home. And I'm like, he's not that weird.
Yeah.
He's
not weird. He's just sad. It's going to be fine, buddy. Like every time I listen to the song, just mentally, I'm just like, buddy, it's going to be okay. Just get back out there. It's a numbers game. Come on.
Plenty of fish in this big sea that you were crying for yourself.
You had one bad coffee date. It's going to be fine.
Hey man, the Viennese take their coffee seriously. That could have broken his heart forever.
It does kind of feel like Austria looked at what Switzerland did and was like, yeah, no, we can do that. It's like, yeah, but there's so much else going on to the code, and I don't think they've cracked it. And like, I think the whole sing-along bit is really something to sit with, because like, I don't want to hear a stadium full of people trying to sing along with this.
Ooh.
I think it would sound bad.
I'm suddenly terrified.
We've all listened to people trying to sing the national anthem of the United States. It's a difficult song.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be like on the rubric, but like, I think it's worth thinking about.
I mean, I think it does get into the overall approachability of what is happening. Whenever there's a mention of being on a reality show, I try to track down, like, how did they do? Did they work with other Eurovision people? Were there other, like, notable people on their season? And that can be kind of a mixed bag on Wikipedia. Like, sometimes you will have, like, the full America's Got Talent style of graphs and everything results, or it'll just be a mention of, like, season 8 happened in 2019. Like, that is the extent of the story. Yes. So, like, if I can't find anything there, I will try to find clips on YouTube, just try to get any sort of information. I did find the clip of JJ's audition on The Voice, and I was surprised that he was on Team Will.i.am, because Will.i.am was the only person to turn around. Even though, like, all of the other judges were just kind of, like, nodding and being like, oh, wow, this sounds really interesting. But I can also see them doing the calculus in their head. It's like, is this going to be commercial enough? Because that is, like, even though The Voice is not necessarily a launch pad for music careers, like 95% of the time, that is going to be part of the calculus. Will.i.am, that seems like a very odd match. It's like, oh, well, there was no real choice in the matter there. So, yeah, it's impressive, but doesn't make a lot of business sense. And that's going to be part of the jury calculus, too.
I could recognize this as technically proficient and impressive, but that doesn't mean I like the song, because like there's a bunch of like math rock bands where they're really just like playing the hell out of their guitars. But also, this sounds awful and I don't like it.
Let me tell you about my tortured relationship to prog rock sometime. But
No,
anyway.
Oh, I thought you were going to
Yeah.
mention Weezer.
And I was having such a good time, Mike.
No, Ned, please come back. I can recognize that like dude has talent and can sing soprano range. Great. That is what opera is for. I can appreciate that talent and also go, I don't like this.
Mm-hmm. All right. Are we done
think we're
trashing
done.
Austria?
We were trying to hard out ourselves there. It's like,
Yeah.
It's so nice just having an open space to talk about these things.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to Blue Sky Tuesday afternoon.
have fun.
The next entry to discuss is Israel. This has been recorded separately from our conversation with Ned, and we wanted to give those who don't wish to engage with this content the opportunity to skip ahead to our discussion of Georgia's entry. Here is the clip of Israel's song, New Day Will Rise by Yuval Raphael.
New day will rise, life will go on, everyone cries, don't cry alone, darkness will fade, all the pain will go by, but we will...
Yuval Raphael is a singer who spent part of her childhood in Switzerland. Her preferred genres are soul and R&B, though she also cites classic rock from Led Zeppelin and the Scorpions in her bio. In 2023, she survived the Hamas attack at the Nova Music Festival, which was the flashpoint for the current Gaza war. She has spoken in front of the United Nations Human Rights Council about the attack.
Last fall, Yuval auditioned for Hakokav Haba, Israel's version of Rising Star, an artist selection program for Eurovision. Along with a high-scoring audition, Yuval won the quarterfinal, the semifinal, and the grand final. The song New Day Will Rise, written by Karen Pellis, was internally selected from a catalog of songs submitted by invited songwriters. Last year's entry, Hurricane, by Eden Golan, finished in 5th place. Israel will perform in slot 14 after Luxembourg and before Germany's preview performance.
We discussed the song after it was revealed in March in episode 260, which we have linked in the show notes. In that discussion, we acknowledged that New Day Will Rise will most likely advance in an all-televote semifinal. The ceasefire that was in place at the time of recording episode 260 has ended.
Our opinions of the song have not changed since our initial discussion, nor has our disapproval of Israel's continued military response in Gaza. Therefore, we do not feel compelled to discuss this entry in greater detail. While the broadcasters from Slovenia, Finland, Spain, and Iceland continue to raise the question of Israel's participation in the Eurovision Song Contest, the EBU has declined to engage in that debate. Georgia has selected Mariam Shengelia and the song Freedom for Eurovision. Mariam is another veteran of the competitive reality show circuit. She was a semifinalist on X Factor Georgia in 2018 and finished 6th in the 2019 season of Georgian Idol. Idol was used to select the artist for Eurovision 2020, and Mariam was one of the backing singers on Tornique's Take Me As I Am. In 2021, Mariam made it to the semifinals on The Voice of Georgia. Her coach, Stephanie, was supposed to represent Georgia in 2009 with the song We Don't Want to Put In by Stephanie and 3G. Mariam most recently competed on Georgia's version of Dancing with the Stars and was the runner-up of her season. Outside of television, Mariam has studied vocal performance and music theory. She's also part of the band Mixtura. As a solo artist, Mariam has performed at events for the Georgian Dream Party, the current government in Georgia. The increasingly conservative government has suspended Georgia's application to the European Union after a disputed election last fall. There have been protests against the government since. Freedom is written by Keti Gabiziani and Buka Kartozia. Last year's entry, Firefighter by Nutsa, was the first song from Georgia to qualify for the grand final since 2016 and finished in 21st place. Georgia performs after Malta and before France's preview performance.
After Malta, before France? Good luck. Beyond that obvious point, this is one of those songs that I wanted to like more than I did. Although there are things I do like about it. It was one of those ones that also, when I first saw the video, was sort of like, internal? And double-checked and went, internal. given some of the political associations you made, I'm sort of like, they're leaning into looking like an ethno-banger, but not being an ethno-banger. Kind of interesting. I'm not too sure if this melange totally works. I will be interested to see what the eventual staging will be like. Obviously, they can't have as many people there, but sort of like, okay, bring on wherever you're going to bring on. And freedom is a lovely nebulous word in many different contexts, so enjoy whatever the secondary meanings are there. There were parts of the arrangement I liked. There was a sort of like a little nervous tension in some of it that's sort of like, oh, okay, it's not just simply sweeping strings. I don't entirely mind. And she's clearly talented and is one of those people who goes big because that's what they do. And she's sort of like, I will give you dramatic looks, and my look is coordinated with my makeup. Hello. And I'm like going, okay, fine. She's styled well and all that. And, none of this is to knock her. But it was one of those things going like, I like it, but what am I missing? What is the X element here that is not quite making it totally click for me, even though I appreciate what it is? She's clearly someone who is comfortable enough on a big stage. She clearly is able to perform well. I have no problem with that. But this is, again, where the pre-parties sort of shaped my opinion to a slightly more negative point of view. Because the only clip I was able to see, because she might not have been in London, I don't know, was an unofficial clip from the Amsterdam pre-party. And I looked at that and it was sort of like, In a weird way, it was very similar to good old JJ, because it's sort of like, I will sell on my performance. I am a singer, not a performer. Totally fine. Totally legit. Not very exciting. Stripped of whatever staging that she may eventually do, that made it less compelling. It was one of those things sort of like, whereas Sissal was sort of like, oh, she's actually sort of punching up. This one's more like sliding down. There's something here that is potentially interesting. Georgia has finally had a bit of an uptick as they did last year. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to continue it. And again, in between Malta and France, it's sort of like, you are going to evanesce so badly. Unless something really stellar happens, you can make something out of this. And I don't quite see it. I'm not feeling good about this one, I guess is what it boils down to.
There's things I like about it musically, like the vocal chord it opens with reminded me weirdly of, like, in the experimental music space, there is Holly Herndon, who trained like a neural net to sing, essentially, and she trained it with shape note singers, and that kind of vocal tone and style of singing sounds a lot like that note. It's interesting from like a folk music perspective. I want to know, hey, what's going on here? Like, what is this shared thread? When we first talked about this one, I was getting hung up on freedom for who. And I'm still getting hung up on freedom for who. Mm-hmm. The English lyrics of this are just kind of almost like computer-generated Eurovision lyrics about freedom.
Yeah.
The Georgian lyrics are also pretty innocuous on the surface. The thirst for freedom, carried in the heart by the homeland, just like this heart in my chest, freedom is also within me. But also what the Georgian Dream Party is doing right now is not super great.
Nope.
This song doesn't feel like it's aimed at Eurovision, so like it's fine that it's kind of stuck between two songs that are going to drown it out. It feels like it's aimed at the home team of, hey, look at this ideal. Isn't this idea of freedom great? And I'm not sure it is. And I can't get past that when I listen to it.
For me, like, if you remove this song from that context, like, this is 100% brand Georgia. Georgia marches to the beat of its own drum, but it's a drum that you can only find in Tbilisi. Every other Tuesday, you got to talk to a guy and like give the password or whatever. The performance that I think you were referencing, Ned, from the pre-parties was reminding me of seeing ethno jazz band EuroWhat at the 2018 contest. And the audience was completely disengaged from it. Like everybody was just like talking like during that, like it was an intermission. And I'm watching the performers on stage, and you can sort of see them getting like justifiably angry at the audience because it's just like, hey, we're here and you're not listening to us. And I feel like that is Georgia at Eurovision right now, where they're just kind of on an island right now. And it's unfortunate because, like, I really think Georgia does very interesting stuff, even if it's not the Eurovision brief. It's just like, okay, this is not the assignment, but you're turning in very interesting work. I feel like I say that every single year. My concern is if they don't qualify this year, that they might not be returning to the contest. I mean, last year, like, they did qualify, so maybe that kind of kick things down the road a little bit, but a lot of Eastern Europe is pulling away from Eurovision, either for budget reasons or political reasons. So getting back to the actual song, I still really enjoy listening to this one. This is from this set. I think it's the one that gets stuck in my head easiest. But being sandwiched between Malta and France, it's like, wow, that's really a no-go there. But like, again, this is another one where it's like, where do you put this? I mean, that is the story of the second semifinal. Aside from like Malta, Australia, Finland, where are you going to put everything else?
Absolutely.
I want Georgia to be successful, but I also understand why they're not finding success right now, particularly if they are going to be sending entries that, like, it kind of feels like this is sort of what happened to Belarus towards the end of their time at the contest.
Yeah, it feels real Belarus adjacent. My concern about them kind of marching to the beat of their own drum and the way that this one kind of feels positioned at the home team is like, I don't want this not qualifying to be a, see, they don't get us, we're leaving.
Even more than their, neighbors directly to the south, Azerbaijan and Armenia, they do seem to lean into more sort of, we've got our own music, we've got our own thing, hello, we've been here for a long, long time. And they do think they make that an element to what they do. In that regard, maybe the nearest comparison historically is to someone like Albania. It's sort of like, yeah, we're around and doing our thing. I think your point about long-term context, especially as the threat to revive Intervision, oh boy, comes in, it's sort of like, yeah, well, have fun with that. So, but we will have to see. But yeah, no, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it.
Ned, which entries are you feeling? We are at the end of our semifinals coverage for this year. So are there other entries that are catching your ear?
There are a few. This is one of those things where I think there's going to be a lot of, I don't want to say Monday morning quarterbacking, but a lot of people may be going like, wait, did I vote right after this? Because when I first went through all the entries, it was sort of like, okay, I picked out a couple of the, terribly obvious ones, going like, okay, through, great, etc., things like that. And a lot of the rest was sort of like this melange. But when I went back the second time, I'm like, things are standing out more. That's great if you're listening to more of this stuff and picking up a second time, but that's not what most of the voters and viewers will be. There may be some who watch the semifinals and the finals, but again, historically, that's not the case. It's mostly people just watching the final. So I think it's going to be a case where I do have increasing amount of favorites, not in the sense they're going to win, but just sort of like, oh, I really like that. But I think a lot of them tend to sink in more with time, and that is not necessarily to its advantage. So I think the more successful ones this year are going to be the ones who are the levels aimed at something like The Substance, where it's like, here is the thing, boom, we hit you over the head, and if it's done well enough, it will be loved like The Substance. So there it is. This is kind of like the Garth Marenghi Dark Place. I know writers use subtext and they're all cowards line comes into play. Screw that, get anything, get it going. A lot of the ones we've sort of hinted at already. So Malta, of course, they know exactly what they're doing. This will place high. I can't see it not. It is too good and is too entertaining, and clearly she's a fantastic live performer. Kai, meantime, the ultimate dark horse, Finland sneaking into Sweden's back door and doing this. Ridiculous. They know what they're doing. All the performances they clearly know how to do this. The crowd loves them. This is one of those cases like, okay, if Sweden wins again, this time I'll accept it, because this time it's, not such an obvious going like, hey, bring Loreen in. It's like, look, I love Loreen, but, we all know who won that year. I'm sorry. So I see this as sort of secondary vengeance down the way. So, I mean, if it gets to Sweden again, I'm like, great, it'll be a wonderful one. Sure, bring it. These people know what they're doing. Very entertaining. I don't have an outright favorite among them and some of the other ones I'll name, but these are all ones I'm like, in the mix, I'll be entertained. It'll be great. It'll be fine. Erica Vickman, every metalhead in the world will be like, who are you and how come I haven't seen you before and all that. And we know that they're out there and they watch Eurovision. She'll get a lot of votes. And in a Jane Mansfield type of way, she knows exactly what she's doing. And Finland knows exactly what they're doing too. So I'm like, she'll be riding high. This will be fine. It's one of those things when we saw that performance from the Finnish competition. We went, oh, okay, they decided to go this direction. Yeah, hey, why not? So, things like that. So beyond that, Tommy Cash is a troll, but he's a genius, which is bothering me. So, this is the thing. I should have mentioned it with the other batch, because clearly on the one hand, you want to strangle him with his hair. On the other hand, he wants you to strangle him with his hair. Yeah. He clearly knows exactly what he's doing every step of the way. All the little bit more videos, the remix, the John Cage performance, I'm like, well done. and just the fact that he has an entire country mad at him delights me beyond measure. I don't know why. Again, I hate it, and yet it's one of those things. It's very hard where I land with this guy. I actually want him to somehow crash the San Marino performance, just because that's exactly what would cause everyone's going more than the Italian ports, the San Marino ports. If he somehow ended up on that, they would be talking about that forever. Last year would be as nothing in terms of controversy. I would be there'll be fires burning down in Milan for years after that.
When San Marino says Tutta l'Italia, does Tutta l'Italia include Tommy Cash?
Exactly. So
has there been a stage invader that was one of the other contestants? That's what I'm like.
We're about to find out. I have no idea. Greece is growing on me. Greece is the one that sort of snuck up on me. The more I listen to it, the more I'm like, okay, there's something here. It's one of those things when I first saw it, went, Nuna Mascori? I mean, why wouldn't I think that? I mean, come on. Glasses, everything is sort of like, okay, great. But then I came back to the song, I'm like, no, there's something here. Again, though, the problem is, it takes a couple of listens. When it does, it clicks. But it takes a couple of listens. So it's one of those things like, if you can make it to the final, great. I'd love to see you in the final. I'm not too sure if it will land. We will see. The band, as opposed to the performer, that fascinates and irritates me more than anybody else is easily good old Vabe from Iceland, because I'm like, why do you dress like your 10-year-old twins? Every time I look at you, I think you are children, and you are not. This disturbs me. Why are you doing this? What is wrong with you? At the same time, I'm like, I don't know, and things like that. So there's them. Adonis landed better than I realized, although it took a couple listens, though I'm still not entirely there, although better than I realized. I like Claude. I like Claude a lot. I think that one is through, and I do want it to get through beyond whatever happened to the Netherlands last year, and all that. I actually think this one's really nice. When it came to a lot of the Eastern European stuff in general, okay, good. Stina is going to get all the old goths going with the Polish entry. I forget how to pronounce the name, Tatumatus. That'll get the ethno-banger Kate Bush fans going to a degree. Nina Žižić, that works for me better ballad-wise than some of the other ones. I can't pronounce their names. Albania's entry really worked for me as a dark, evil James Bond ballad the more I listen to it. Again, the more I listen to it, another problem that it has. Marko Bosniak would represent Croatia that way. I'm not saying that as a positive or a negative, just that he would represent Croatia that way. It's more like, yeah, okay. Kyle Alessandro put on better pre-party performances than I would have expected. So I'm sort of like, okay, all right, I think this guy's through. As for good old, what's her name? The Norwegian who's singing for Ireland. Emmy?
Oh, Emmy.
Emmy,
thank you.
yeah.
So it's one of those ones I saw that pre-party performance and went, I think luck will not strike for Ireland again. I'm not sure about the Laura Thorne hype. I understand. I'm not sure about it. I really am sort of like, I don't know. Feels vibey off. Spain is functional. Note I said functional. I have nothing to say about Italy's choice, because it's sort of like, I even watched the San Remo week, and I'm sort of like, I couldn't begin to tell you anything about Italy's entry. Totally bounces off my head. Didn't work. The celebration of the 70th anniversary was more interesting than the final choice of entry. Again, I don't know why I've done that. Germany? Nah. Okay. Remember Monday. My theory, which may not be right, but I'm willing to stake something on this, is that they approached Wet Leg, and Wet Leg told them to and they went, okay, and they found their own sort of not really Wet Leg, kind of not really. And then they've released that damn video, which is the setting of which, and the combination with the whole idea of the swear is like, this is a video in the seventh point of view of the sister in the family from Saltburn, is Saltburn was a sitcom. I saw that and went like, Death to England, bottom of the table, no. It will get through the finals, obviously by default. I do not want it to succeed in anything. It is bad mojo, bad vibes. I am not a fan. That is a song that would have played at the Impossible Victory Party if the Tories had won the last general election. That's my vibe of this song. I am not. No. Out. Goodbye. That's all I have to say about that. Parg, Armenia. Trying. Mama Gama I liked a little better, but I think the vibes are a little out of sync. It doesn't quite land for right now. It's one of those things like, you would have been better in another year, but not this year. I can't quite put my finger on it, but that's my vibe with them. There are other ones I'm missing, but that's kind of my overview. So there you go. there's my take on it all. So, and whoever wins, but I don't have a raging favorite this time. I'll be like, sure, bring it on. If I'm surprised, I'm surprised. If it's one of the ones I figure is going to win, great.
Excellent. Is there anything that you would like to plug or point our listeners to?
You can find me most regularly on Blue Sky, continuing to do my own podcast with my friends Jared and Oriana on Tolkien, By-The-Bywater. We're on Blue Sky as well. You can find us, come out monthly. My music writing continues as always. I have my weekly Patreon, but there's also continuing work for the sites like Shuffle and The Quietus. I should be doing more with The Wire. That's on me. I need to pitch a little more. And various other spots besides. I've got a couple of big pieces coming out in The Quietus in the very near future, and Shuffle too, as a matter of fact. Otherwise, yeah, just find me where you do, drop a line, follow me. It's all good, and I'll talk to you as I do.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ned. We will have links to all of that in the show notes. That's going to do it for this episode of the EuroWhat. Thanks for listening. The EuroWhat podcast is hosted by Mike McComb, that's me, and Ben Smith.
That's me. You can find our full archive of episodes on our website at EuroWhat.com. If you'd like even more episodes, including our semi-final mega mixes, join our Patreon. You can get to the Patreon through our website or by going to patreon.com/EuroWhat.
Next time on the EuroWhat, we chat about the Big Five and host country Switzerland with our special guest, Justin Ladia.